start, okay, because
Yeah.
it's this is again the use topic,
Yes.
and we have only 1 hour, okay?
Yeah.
So let's start that.
Okay. So going to the next slide now.
Yeah, please. Okay, perfect. Thanks, AP, for the hosting this webinar, and thank you everyone here who already joined and who are in the process of the joining for this webinar. And let's start the webinar. Again, this is the very good topic, and this is something that the frequently coming for the any entrepreneur having the nexus in the US. So today on the webinar, I'll be covering me and Mansi both are covering the purpose, key entities, company incorporated in the USA by a non-resident, procedure to incorporate the company in the US, the capital transfer from the India to USA. There is more about the FEMA, RBI compliances, and the compliances at the federal level and the compliances at the state level. So this is the common. If the client is coming, or if someone is thinking that the whether I should create the company in the US or not, these are the common questions they are having in their mind. Most of the time, the when I help the startup company in the India, mainly the technology company, they have a lot of questions because they are the startup, and they have to consider the cost and each and every aspects, right, before they take the decision of the domestication. That is the purpose of this webinar, that they get the basic understanding before they take the decision to domestication in the US. Okay, so Epic, you can move to the next slide, please. The first why, okay, the question arise why I should go for an incorporation of my own company in the US, or why I should go for a domestication in the US. So there are a lot of purpose. Okay, the main purpose of the setting of the company in the US to create the global market, because that is in the global brand. Uh, if you ask that the yeah, my company is incorporated in the US, okay, that has a more value. So obviously the global market and the global brand. Second is the economic environment. The non-resident can purchase the US at a lower price than the home country. So there are a lot of advantage. Some benefits are only given to the local person or a local company, and sometimes our customer and the clients are also not ready to outsource anything. Okay, they just want to make the legal agreement with the US company only, because they get the same jurisdiction in the US if something happen. So all the legal agreement they don't want to make between the India company and the US company directly. So we have to create the one layer in the US. It may be our subsidiary or maybe our commonly owned the company. That is the reason the most of my clients are coming, and to serve this purpose. The third is the lot of incentive is offered by the federal, state, and the local government that applies to the only domestic company. Access to the new market. Okay, so sometime if you are just approaching the client from your Indian entity, and if you're approaching the clients from your US entity, that makes the huge difference. So that may be a reason. The political environment, the stability, the technology advancement, and again the very important the brand. Okay, if for any IT company, the startup company, obviously they are developing some intangible assets, the goodwill, the copyright, patent, and so many other stuff. Always they are thinking that in the future there will be, if my technology goes in the right way, there may be a sale of the our company, or there may be a equity dilution in the future, or maybe if everything goes in very well way, it may be possible that I will go with the IPO in the future. Okay, so you can attract the more investor to your company if it is the technology is owned, the all the intangible assets owned by the US company, because there is a huge protection as far as the intangible assets are concerned in the US as compared to any part of the world. Also, apart from that, there is not mentioned here that the sometime the charges, okay, if I'm selling my service or anything from the India and I'm collecting the money from the some third party like PayPal or Stripe or other stuff, there may be some reasonable good charges, okay, they are charging. But if you create your own company in the US and take all the SEH payment and the wire transfer in the US, and you just make the one transfer from US to India to cover up the India cost, this may save a lot of cost for you people. So that is the common purpose of the setting up the company in the US. And I'll be covering later on that in the US, any foreign person can create their own company. There is no need, there is no requirement of the resident director. If you go to the other country like Australia or a Canada or maybe a UK, you need someone as a resident director. US is the only a country, or maybe some other country, I don't know. But in the US, you don't need to be any resident director. So 100% foreign board of director, 100% foreign shareholding is allowed for the any type of the entity in the US except the S corporation that I will be covering later. Abby, you can move to the next slide, please. Key entities can set up in the US for a doing business. There are a lot of structure are available. The corporation is similar to the private limited in the India. Then the partnership, people know what is the partnership, similar to the partnership structure in the India. Limited liability company, okay, that is called as a LLC, and the sole proprietor. Sole proprietor, one mode is there, but I never suggest any of my clients to go with the sole proprietor because it is having the unlimited liability. I need the structure where my liability is limited. Okay, so corporation and the LLC both are the good structure in the US if you're planning to incorporate your business or set up your business in the US. Corporation may be a C corp or a S corp. Partnership may be a general partnership and the limited partnership, or maybe a limited liability partnership. All are having the own advantage and the disadvantage. So most of the time, the foreign person, the we suggest as a advisor, go with the either corporation or maybe LLC. And the taxation is totally different for the corporation with the C corp and the LLC with the partnership taxation. So pass-through taxation versus the entity level taxation, that always the consideration for the any foreign person because this will impact a lot as far as the taxation is concerned. And the S corporation is never possible for the any foreign person because the one of the condition for the S corp is all the shareholder must be a US resident. That is the first condition of the S corp. So if anyone is trying with the foreign ownership, if you are a foreign person, not a US tax resident, S corporation is not an option for you. So only you have a corporation with the C corp and the LLC with the pass-through taxation. Two options are there. Partnership option is also there. Sole proprietor option is also there. But since both are having a little bit the unlimited liability, that is the reason if someone asks me, I just go either of these, okay, LLC or INC with the C corp. If you can move to the next slide, okay, where I'll be covering the some fundamental difference between the each structure. So this is the great chart, okay, and you will get the everything from this chart. So C corp is the owners have a limited liability created by the registration with the state, perpetual duration, unlimited owners. Owners need not be a US citizen and the resident. So yes, this applies to us. Okay, we can create the C corporation. You can see that the S corporation, that option is not available. Again, LLC, that option is available. So, and may be owned by the another business entity, may issue the stock, owner report. The last point is very important, how the taxation will work. So C Corp is similar to the private limited. C Corp is similar to the private limited in the India. It means there is an entity level taxation, or on other way, I can say that there is a double taxation. So whatever the earning of the corporation or a private limited, we are paying the corporate income tax there. Then that money is lying with the business as a reserve and the retained earning. Future, you declare the dividend out of the reserve or a retained earning. Again, the dividend is taxable. So there is a double taxation in the C corp, but we can manage that. Okay, there are a lot of plannings are there. Okay, but the yes, C corp is the best structure for any foreign person to create the company in the US. The reason being that there is an entity level taxation, so you don't need to pick up anything in the India. So for example, just giving the example, then let us cover the LLC, because this is the only the two difference that I will be discussing. Okay, why that LLC or ILC? LLC has a lot of option. By default, LLC is treated as a pass-through taxation. It means that any LLC is subject to a partnership taxation. LLC will not pay any tax at the company level. Whatever the taxes we have to offer at the LLC owners level. This pass through of the taxation. For example, I am an Indian citizen. I created the LLC in the US. So I have to take my ITIN number in the US. I have to file my non-resident tax return in the US. LLC will file the 1065, the informational return. Then all the profit is passing to the owner, means me. Then I will file the non-resident return in the US and offer the whatever the tax is there. Again, I am an Indian resident. So as per the Indian income tax rule, I have to report the global income. So when I am filing my Indian ITR, I will pick up again the same income on my Indian ITR. Whatever the taxes I paid in the US, that is creditable on my Indian ITR as a foreign taxation. So lot of layers are there, lot of forms are there, filing will become a complex. So I never suggest that anyone with the foreign shareholding don't go with the pass-through taxation. Okay, pass-through taxation is very helpful and a very tax advantage for the people who are living in the US. Okay, for the if you are Indian tax resident as well as the US and having the US LLC. Okay, just try to avoid LLC can elect C corp as well. So eh, the IRC, the Internal Revenue Code, has given the all the option to the LLC. So LLC can elect under the check the box election to treat for the taxation purpose as a C corp. So LLC is also, but keep the C corp taxation. This is the my bottom line. Okay, don't keep the pass through taxation that is creating the issue with the Indian income tax. That creating the sum of the issue with the FEMA and RBI compliances. So ideal structure. The question, simple question raised that the what is your advice, Vivek Bhai? Then my advice is very simple. Go with the corporation INC with the C corp or maybe LLC and the check the box election and make it as a C corp. Okay. Definitely, you can keep the pass-through taxation. You can keep the LLC as LLC by default partnership taxation, pass-through taxation, when the lot of layers are coming for the filing compliances point of view. Okay. If you can move to the next slide. Yeah, next one. Maybe next one. Yeah. Now the question. Okay. So if you can raise the poll.
Okay, so people are voting for it. So, okay, 85% of people think the answer is general partnership. They are still voting. Oh, something C Corp as well. Okay, they're still voting. Okay. Oh, still voting, still voting. Okay. All right, so I think we have the answers here with us. Guys are still, if you want to vote, you can, if you can answer, you can answer if you want. Okay, they're answering. They're still okay. Okay, I think everybody has answered. So 81% of our attendees think it's general partnership. The answer is a general partnership, they think.
Perfect, perfect. This is the correct answer. And yeah, let me explain. Okay, why not C corp? The question is saying that the which of the following type of the entity owners report the business and loss on their personal tax return? Means they are talking about the pass-through taxation, because as I mentioned, there is the for a pass-through taxation, there is no entity level taxation. So everything is passing through owners. That is possible on the by default LLC structure and the partnership structure only, or maybe S corporation structure. C corp is the only type of the entity in the US that is having the entity level taxation. There is no pass through taxation as far as the C corp is concerned. Okay, and the answer is yes. Okay, it should be the general partnership. Okay, and perfect. So Abby, you can move to the next slide. Okay, the company incorporated in the USA by the non-resident. Mansi, are you covering that?
Yes, yes, I'll take this
Okay,
further.
perfect. Yeah, thanks, Mansi.
Thank you, Vivek, for the explaining the great insight on why we need the US entity and what are the benefits. So now, moving further, basically now we are going to discuss that which type of entities options we have, what are the process, what are the states to choose, what will be the next steps once you decide that you want to have the company incorporated in US from the foreign person. So firstly, basically for foreigner or the person who is living outside of US, there are two basic entity types that is possible. One is corporation, another is LLC that we already covered. So how we start the process? I mean, what are the forms? What is the first step, right? So to form the corporation, there will be the two types of form. One is article of incorporation or certificate of incorporation. We have to apply with the state. And for LLC, there will be article of organization, and we call it as a certificate of organization. So article of incorporation defines the purpose or the why the entity, what is the purpose of the specific corporation, that is mentioned on article of incorporation. And article of organization that defines the purpose of the LLC. So that is the major difference between both the categories. Happy, let's move to the further slide. So now, what is the first step? Like, we decided that we want to go for INC or LLC, and then after that, the next step is which state we are going to form the company or the LLC. So basically, how the structure or how the process works is in US. Like, first you have to register the company with the state, or you decide the state, and then you follow all the process to get the business registered with the state, and then you go to the IRS, which is the Internal Revenue Services, which govern the federal agency. So when we decide that we want to go for INC or LLC, now we determine the state, that which state we are going to incorporate, and the criteria we are going to discuss in later slide. Once we define the type, then state, then we are going to choose the company name. So it is like, easily you can anytime you can go into any state website and you can see that which kind of company name is available. It is very convenient. Each and every state offers that service for free, so you can have your name defined from there. Then the next step comes into hiring the register agent. So why we need to hire a register agent? Because the person who is, yes, it is mandatory to hire a register agent, The reason is when you are incorporating a company in US, being a non-citizen or non-US person, so department would need someone or the address, which would not be the PO box address. That has to be physical address with the state, within the state, I would say, which is open to receive business communication during business hours. So that is basic criteria to get the registered agent, and it is mandatory. If you have someone present in the United States in specific state that you are getting the company incorporated, it is okay. You can choose that. If not, then there are so many agencies, so many so many agents are available that you can hire the service of, and it is mostly yearly renewal. So you pay the fees and then they will accept the letters on your behalf and they will forward it over to you. So the main and sole purpose for registered agent is to receive business communication. Sometimes it is very difficult to get letter to India address because the structure is different. We have 4-5 lines address, they have 2 lines address, and it is mandatory state requirement. Then the next step comes into the name and address of directors. So again, there is no requirement of the resident director in US companies. So anybody can perform or anybody can be the director, whether it is a US person or non-US person. So they can be a director. We have to define or we have to provide full name, address of the directors when we are making the application to incorporate the company or LLC. Now, the next part, now, until now, we have talked about the state steps, right? Now we are, once we receive the approved article of incorporation from state, the next step comes into go to the federal agency, which is IRS, and we apply for employer identification number. So there are, technically you will say that 2 steps. Once you go with the state, it is done, then you go with the federal agency and then you apply for the EIN number. Once EIN number, you get the number, then the next step is to get the bank account open or the apostille of certificate of authentication. So we are going to discuss this again in the later slides. Appy, can we move please? Okay, the next second poll question. Great.
Oh, they're voting. I think it's a tie between true and false.
Okay.
Some of them think the registered agent may or may have a physical address in the state of formation. They're still voting. We can't say anything. Oh, some of them think that it's not true. Some of them think it's true. Oh, okay, they're still voting. Can't say anything. Oh, a lot of you are asking questions in the chat box. You can ask question in the Q&A section. Okay, so they have voted now.
Okay.
I'm ending the poll. Okay, so 72% of the attendees think that the statement is false. It's not true.
Okay, so yeah, registered agent must have the physical address in the state. It is not the optional thing. So as we discussed that, if you do not have the actual physical address, then you get to hire the services of registered agent because it is mandatory to get the physical address. So correct answer is false because there has to be mandatory requirement. Okay, let's move to the further next slide.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we discussed that what is the major difference between corporation and LLC, why S corp is not possible because the basic criteria to be S corp is that cannot be the foreign person. So when the non-US citizen, non-US person is setting up the company, then S corporation is not an option. There are only C corporation or LLC, and that we covered basically. Now, many of you might have the question that out of all 50 states, how do we determine that in which state we have to register our business? So there are again, each state has separate requirements. They have the separate filing fees. There is separate recurring requirements of filing annual report, franchise tax. So there are so many things that we take care of when we choose that, and once we choose that specific states after considering all the criteria, that will be treated as a domestic state. So you can have the business in other state as well, but it will be called as a foreign registration. So one state can be domestic state and the other state when you are doing business in can be the foreign registrations. So how do we determine based on the business need? Some states are more business friendly or international friendly. That means they have a very convenient process to set up the business as far as the US non-US person is concerned. And the 10 best states for LLC or corporation are Wyoming, South Dakota, Alaska, Florida, Montana, New Hampshire, Nevada, Utah, Delaware, North Carolina. These states, they do attract the startup business. They do encourage the entity incorporation for various reasons, right? And it is more basically we call it as a business friendly states. So we will move to the next slide and we'll discuss further on the states. Appy, please. Okay, old question. Foreign person cannot be shareholder of. Appy, can we raise that?
Yeah, here you go. C corporation, S corporation, LLC. None of the above is also an option. They're voting.
Okay.
Okay. Mansi, is there any chances none of the above is an answer? I'm inclined towards it.
Foreign person cannot be, no, because that is why we are conducting this session. Very apparent, right?
Yes. Okay, they're voting. So some of them think it's C Corp, some of them think it's S Corp, and some of them are like me, they think none of the above is the answer.
Wow.
Okay, they're voting. They're still voting. Okay. They're still voting. Let's wait. Okay. They're voting, yes. Okay, I think they have voted. So I'm ending the poll.
Okay.
Yeah, 86% of our attendees think S corporation, B S corporation is the answer.
That's correct. So the foreign person cannot be shareholder of the S corporation.
Yes.
Correct answer. Yes.
All right, I'll move
Yeah.
to next slide.
Thank you. Okay, so the states we were discussing, which is very, the basic question we get all the time that, we want to do the business in US and which state we should choose basically. So out of all these states, we determine that Wyoming, Delaware, Nevada, these are very business friendly states. There is no specific state income tax, right? No corporate tax in Wyoming, Delaware, or Nevada. There is obviously annual report filing requirement, which is obviously required because even state has to know that the business is into operation. So it is annually annual formality that business has to file annual report. The deadline for Wyoming is 1st January. For Delaware, it's 1st March. We report the basic business information like the name of the business, entity ID, then what are the shareholders or directors, and the address, or that is the basic thing that we need to report on the annual report, and it is annual recurring basically. So yeah, we can move further, Happy. Okay, now we see that some states they have the higher taxation requirements. Few states are Maryland, Connecticut, New York, California, New Jersey. So when non-US person is incorporating the business in US, we usually recommend that you should not go for these states, because there is no point of paying the higher state tax when you are operating outside of US, or you are doing if you are a non-US person. So this is the comparison we have given, that California, we all know that it is one of the highest taxed state, which has the minimum franchise tax of $800, which is yearly recurrence. Corporate tax in California is 8.84%, which is too high, because the C corporation or business is paying federal tax as well. And the state tax is over and above that 21% of the C corporation, as compared to South Dakota or Wyoming or Delaware or Nevada, that we already discussed, that is having the no state tax, just the annual report filing requirement. So this is just to give you the brief idea that how the taxability can impact, and why it is very important to consider the state when you are incorporating business. Let's move further. Okay, brief detail idea that choose the company name. So this is again this part of the process that we are discussing, that we have to make sure that the name is available with the state, because the only criteria to register or to get started with the state incorporation, that you see that if name is available or not, registered agent, director's name, employer ID number, or the apostille copy, and then the opening of bank account. So bank usually when you go to the bank and when you ask for the business account, they will ask for the certified article of incorporation, employer identification number, or some banks, when you are doing the ODI process, when you are transferring money from foreign to the US business, then they also ask for the apostille copy of certificate, and that we also get the from the state that we have incorporated the business of. Happy, can we move further, please? Okay, the next poll question.
I've launched it. So they're voting. Okay.
LLC formation can be done at state level by applying for
yes.
the following. Yes.
Answers or coming like there can be a tie between A and B. So some of them think it's article of organization. Some of them think it's EIN, and some of them think it's apostille, AOI.
Okay.
What are the chances that it is EIN, Mansi? Yeah. You are not going to answer it, right? You're not going to answer it. All right. No worries.
No.
No, you're not. Okay. All right. No worries. Okay. I think they've all answered, and I'll end the poll unless. Okay. Yeah. Oh, there's one person who thinks it's certificate of good standing. Maybe he's the right one.
Let's see.
Let's see. Okay. Okay. They have all. They've done the voting already.
Okay.
I'm ending the poll. So 70% of our attendees think the answer of this question is a article of organization.
Okay, that's the correct answer. The first step to apply or to get from the state is the applying for article of organization or certificate of incorporation. Then we discussed that once it is approved from the state, then the next step will be to go with the IRS or federal agency and then apply for the EIN. So that will be the step after getting article of organization. So A is the correct answer.
Okay. Fine, then I'm moving to the next slide, Mansi. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Vivek, are you going to cover this?
Yes, Mansi. Thank you so much for covering so far. Excellent discussion and excellent raise of the poll questions. Okay, so I think that you cover up the main procedure aspects. So now just let us discuss some of the commonly questions that the most of my clients are raising to me. The fund transfer from the India to USA. You know that in the India, any foreign remittance is run by the RBI through the FEMA regulation, and the FEMA has a lot of restriction. There are a lot of procedure is also available, and your Indian chartered accountant or advisor can guide on this better. I'm not the right person. Okay, I don't advise anything on the client, but since I'm a chartered accountant, so I know the rules. So I'm discussing here. So first is the ODI process. So whenever you are buying the LLC interest or maybe a INC shares, then you have to go through the FEMA regulation, the ODI process. For an individual, we all know there is a LRS scheme in the FEMA regulation. So any Indian citizen individual through the LRS scheme can remit the maximum $250,000 in a financial year, okay, to the any foreign country, including the US. So whenever you are creating the LLC or INC, make sure that you properly comply the FEMA regulation. Most of my clients, when they are coming to me, okay, they are already late with the FEMA regulation. To deal with the FEMA and the RBI never be easy. There is a huge penalties there. So if you are creating the LLC or a INC, and if you are violating this ODI rule or maybe LRS rule, this will create a huge penalty to you people. So make sure that apart from the incorporation, we also comply with the Indian FEMA rules. And second, and the very important, okay, and most of the time my clients are making the mistake that as per the FEMA, if you create the LLC and if you're transferring money from the India to USA through the ODI process, then the most of the banker are not allowing you. The reason being that the FEMA regulation, the code for the ODI and the investment in the equity, they specially mention that the equity in bracket, they mention the sets. Now the people stuck up here. A lot of clients are coming, they just through the agent online, they created the LLC, then I have to do the from LLC conversion to the INC, then only I can issue the shares. Okay, LLC cannot issue the shares. LLC is the limited liability company managed by the member, run through the membership certificate only. LLC cannot issue the shares. So you have to just make sure that as per the FEMA and India, you have to remit the capital and you need the share capital there. For that, that is the reason I mentioned that for any Indian citizen creating the structure in the US, the best is the INC with CCOP. Okay, so you have to just make sure that you comply with the ODI process. Sometimes the people are, you are a businessman, okay, you focus on your business, and through the online agent you created the LLC and the INC, but the most of the time you're forgetting the compliances with the FEMA regulation. Whenever you have to remit the fund from the US to India back, then you will be stuck up. You can't transfer because you have not done the proper ODI process when you buy or bought the equity. So make sure that you properly comply with that. This is very, very crucial. Obviously, the FEMA consultant in the India or any practicing Indian chartered accountant or your existing chartered accountant can guide you better on that. But this rule, you have to make sure you comply once the company is incorporated and once you issue the shares. Okay, you have to do the proper ODI process. Abby, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, the question. Abby, can you raise the poll?
Done, Vivek.
Oh, thanks.
Uh, so the question is, fund from foreign countries allowed under FEMA for which entity type? And answer could be LLC or C corporation. Everybody's voting. So there's a tie between C Corp and LLC. So most of them think it's C Corp, but they're still voting. Okay, I think they've all voted now.
Perfect. Yeah, it
Okay,
is the
so
correct answer. It is a C corp. Okay. And yeah, thanks. I think that the more than 75% voted for the C corp. And obviously the FEMA regulation, ODI process, the court selection, they clearly mention that the equity in bracket shares, C corp or INC can only issue the shares. LLC cannot issue the shares. LLC has to issue the membership certificate. Most of the time when my clients try, or maybe Indian chartered accountant try with the banker, okay, and they are disallowing, and I have to just convert from the LLC to INC to make sure we comply with the ODI process. If you can move it to the next slide, please. Compliances in the US, I'll be covering the this very quickly. That the anytime, see, the any startup company, if you are creating the domestication in the US, the first question, what should be my cost? What should be my compliances cost? I don't want to create the lot of cost. Yeah, so compliances in the US, you need to renew your company with the whatever the state. If it is a Delaware, then you have to renew with the Delaware. Every year you have to hire the register agent. You have to renew the register agent. The most of the in the question answer session, people ask me for the fees for the register agent. In the US, the register agent is charging fees per annum between the $50 to $150, depending on the register agent. So it's not a huge cost. And renew of the company, renewal of the company is also not creating the use cost. Some states charge $200, $225, $400, depend on the incorporation. Apart from this two, you have to file the income tax filing. Okay, so depend on the state. As Mansi mentioned, if you created the company in the Delaware, then the Delaware doesn't charge the corporate income tax unless you have a nexus in the Delaware. So you have to file only the federal income tax. Federal income tax is mandatory for each and every domestic entity. Okay, so whatever the state you selected, it doesn't change your federal income tax filing. Federal income tax filing is the C corp filing, that form 1120 you have to file every year by 15th April with the IRS. There is a flat corporate level income tax rate for the federal. It is a 21% that the Trump mentioned in the tax reform. So right now the corporate income tax rate is the 21%. You just pay the taxes and just file the tax return, then you are done. Okay, so but if you created the company in the California or New York or maybe some tax paying state, then apart from the federal income tax filing, you have to file the state income tax, as well as Mansi mentioned that the every state is having the different income tax rate, okay, and the different filing. But the common filing that that come in the my mind, that you have to renew the company every year, you have to renew the register agent every year, you have to do the federal income tax filing by 15th April. You have to make the books of account very clearly as per the US cap. But the compliance is caught in the bigger way. Okay, if I consider you as a startup, very minimum accounting transaction and the minimum accounting entry, your compliance score should be range between the $800 to $1,000 per year. In the US, there is no mandatory of the audit unless you are listed. So most of the audit services are very, very costly in the US, but it is not mandatory. So there is no concept like a tax audit or a statutory audit for the non-listed company. Voluntary, you can decide to get the audited financial statement from the any practicing CPA firms, but that is the option. Okay, the mandatory compliances which I mentioned. Once Abby, you can move it to the next slide. Compliance at the state level, I already mentioned that you have to creating the company, you have to file the article of the incorporation or articles of the formation. Every year you have to file the annual report. Annual report is something like a renewal of the company or a LLC. And sometime, okay, apart from your domestic state where you incorporated, if you're doing the business in the other state as well, you just create the branch, or which I generally say the foreign qualification. So for if Delaware company is doing the business in the New York, for New York, it is a foreign company. So you have to just register the branch in the New York as well when there is a nexus definition, when you are doing business definition. So this is something the compliance is at the state level. Maybe you can move it to the next slide. Perfect. Any questions? Okay, I think I answered the most of the questions in the Q&A session. I think that the AB you can do the read that question and the my answer. Okay.
Yeah, there's one open question.
Okay.
Someone has asked that if we can file our return like we do in India.
Yeah, obviously. See, in the US, any income tax filing, okay, you always make the self-filing. Unless you need some advisor or a CPA who can sign your tax return, but the IRS is giving the self-filing option as well. So you can file your own tax return, but the most of the time the US taxation is very, very complex. So I just suggest that they go with the advisor who can plan your books of account as per the US GAAP properly. So there is no issue of the penalty and other stuff. But yes, you can file your taxes at own as well. Okay. And the next question is coming. This PTIN is mandatory. Now understand what is the PTIN. Okay, PTIN is the when you prepare a tax return as a professional for your clients for the consideration of the compensation, then you must sign it. It never be a self-prepared. Okay, it is a violation of the law. So if I have my own company and I'm filing my taxes at myself, I don't need the PTN or anything. Okay, it is a self-prepared. But I have a clients, and for my clients, I am filing the tax return. Definitely, I am a professional, and professional needs the PTIN. Then only we can file the taxes on behalf of the clients. Okay, so PTIN is mandatory for a professional who is serving their clients. For a self-filing, PTIN is not mandatory. Then there is a question from there is another question. I couldn't get a last part where you explain about the opening the branch in the New York or Delaware, register as a foreign entity. What are the tax implications in the New York state? New York is the tax paying state, okay, and the creating in the New York sometimes creates a lot of tax liability. So I don't suggest that you should do the domestication in the New York. But if you have a nexus or a doing business definition in the New York, I suggest just create the company in the Delaware or a Texas or maybe other state where we are getting the more good tax strategy. Then register the branch in the New York, okay? Because that is very mandatory. And the New York is also the throwback state, so I don't suggest to create the domestication or incorporation in the New York, but create the branch. You just create your company in the one state and register the branch in the any of the state. Okay, and that will be considered as a foreign branch. because the one state is considering the foreign to the another state. Okay, so this is what I'm saying, that the domestication selection is very, very important from the future tax point of view. Then I think the only CPA can have a PTIN to sign. No, okay, PTIN has a definition of the lot of people who can apply for the PTIN. CPA is one of them, enroll agent is second, and the few others also can get the PTIN. So anyone can get the PTIN. My answer is not only the CPA, but other qualified people are also invited to get the PTIN. Registering the branch will save me a taxes. Okay, see, it is not about the saving the taxes. Okay, it is about your nexus definition and the legal compliances. So this is not an option that the whether we should register the branch. It's the nexus. In the US there is a physical nexus and the economic nexus rules. So doing the business, if you are qualifying that role, that you are doing the business in the particular state, you must register the branch in that particular state. Otherwise you are violating the law. So without the nexus, first we do the nexus study. There is the physical nexus and the economic nexus. Based on that, we decide whether you should register or not. Okay, if you are registering, definitely it will create the more tax liability because you are registering in the New York. In specific to this question, it will create some additional state income tax liability. So we'll go for a registration only if required, otherwise not. Between the Delaware and the Wyoming, which do you recommend any? Okay, both are the good state. Okay, Delaware is most popular. The most of the good companies are also incorporated in the Delaware, but the any, okay, Wyoming or Delaware, just go. Okay, you can do it. Total charges till the open the bank of account for the LLC is ranging. Okay, depend on the agent and the selection of the CPA forms and the other stuff. We cannot disclose our charges here. Okay, but the I think in bigger way, with any CPA form, it should be ranging between the $600 to $1,000, including all the government fees, registered fees, all the legal document, and assistance with the opening the bank account. Then the next question is, it's possible to do entire process without visiting the USA? My answer is yes, you can do it. Only thing, if you want to open the bank account in the good bank like a Bank of America, Chase, or a Wells Fargo, you need the physical presence there because they are not allowing the remote banking. They are allowing the remote banking, but they are not allowing the remote opening. Okay. But if you go with some virtual bank, there are a lot of virtual banks are available in the US. They are giving the debit card, SCH, and everything just like a bank account. And if you go with that, they are allowing the opening the bank account based on the Indian KYC document, and you can open the online. So in that scenario, you avoid the US visit and open it here. If an Indian resident is the director of the C Corp, is it mandatory to get the ITN to open the bank account? My answer is no. ITN is not mandatory, but generally I suggest my client get the ITIN, okay? Because in future, whenever the C Corp is declaring the dividend to the shareholder, then definitely they need the dividend taxation in the US, and at that time they need the ITIN. So always it is better, since you are doing the business in the US, get the ITIN for the any non-resident or a director, okay, of the C Corp. If I have a registered agent in the Nevada and now I open the foreign branch in the California, do I need to file the both state and pay the taxes? Yes. Nevada, you have to see that the exactly the what the income tax filing is required there based on the Nevada rule. Most of the time the Nevada doesn't create the income tax filing. Then California, yes, it is the tax paying states and you have to comply with that as well. Abby, any further questions?
No, if unless they have any other and they could ask.
Yeah. Sorry, I just answered very fast all the questions
Yes.
because I always
So
believe in the starting the webinar at the right time and ending the webinar at the right time. Okay.
yes.
So,
Do you want to discuss the question which were asked earlier during the session?
uh, uh, I think that quickly, just like me, okay, if you read it and answer it, okay, that
Yeah.
will create
Yeah,
some.
okay, I'll do that. Okay. So there was one question that what are Indian government legal and tax issues needed to manage the entity setup? So the answer is it depends on type of entity, LLC or INC. and it was also covered in during the session.
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, the state suggestions which were asked a couple of times, and you answered it. Then there was one question: how many directors should be there? So the answer is one director or shareholder. Then there was a question: is it mandatory to open a bank account in US, or we can manage with PayPal account or so? So the answer is no, mandatory, but suggest to open. For some government payments, you need bank account, can't do from PayPal. But yes, you can also use virtual banks, which can be opened from India, as Vivek mentioned. Then there's question regarding bank account. So Vivek, it will be better if you can, the bank account thing can be explained once again, maybe.
Yeah. So bank account is the commonly people are asking to me.
Yeah.
Bank account, if you want to see, bank account is not mandatory, but is necessary for some of the federal tax payment, state tax payment, and some of the expenses you can't do from the PayPal. Okay, so you need the bank account. And creating the bank account to the good bank like a Bank of America, Chase, and the Wells Fargo, you need the physical presence there. So you have to go to a branch in the US. They can't allow the remote opening. But if you don't have a US visa or any issue with the traveling to the US, and you don't have any second choice, go with the virtual bank. You will find a lot of virtual bank in the Google. Okay, and they are allowing the mostly the IT industry. They are supporting the IT industry, and they're creating the virtual bank account. Virtual bank is also the FDIC insured bank up to the dollar 1,25,000 balance. So it's a secured. Go with the virtual bank. Okay, they are giving the debit card as well. They are giving the SCA transfer and everything. You can move easily money. You can collect the old money from your customer to your US bank account, and US bank account to the India transfer. So I think that the virtual bank will be a right choice. Okay, if you can't travel to US. Then someone asked me, can you explain the more about the Nexus? Is not possible. Definitely, I will consider the next entire webinar for the Nexus. Nexus, again, for your information, it will be a sales tax Nexus and the income tax Nexus. Nexus is the very, very crucial. And after the 2017, the very well-known Supreme Court decision, the Nexus has become a very, very complex issue in the US. Physical Nexus and the economic Nexus, for the sales tax and for the income tax, we need at least 1 hour. Okay, but definitely I will try to create the one webinar specific to the Nexus study, specific to the IT industry. I'm very sure that will help. Okay, then someone asked, do we have a physical presence of all the partner to open the bank account in BOHS or Wells Fargo? Just the one partner. Just give the authority to one partner. Draft the agreement in such a way, okay, then the bank will not ask for the other partner, and the one partner can open up. Okay, but you have to just make the board resolution and the stock board and your bylaws in such a way, okay, that the one person can open the bank account. Okay. Perfect. Everyone here, I think that this will help a lot for domestication of the US entity from the India perspective, the legal compliances and other stuff. If you still have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And the next webinar, okay, this is the episode 3. On the episode 4, we are just coming with again the very good topic, the real estate transaction for a non-resident alien. This is again the commonly asked question to me, whether as a foreign person I can buy the rental property, land, or maybe a real estate kind of the investment in the US or not. If I am doing that, what are the FEMA regulation, what are the Indian income tax, and what are the domestic US taxation for the non-resident alien, and what are the withholding requirements. If I sell the property in the future, how can bring those money back to the India. that I will be covering in my next topic, that I will be covering the episode number 4 in the May. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the. This is again the complex and the very good topic. And thank you so much for Mansi, okay, to covering the presentation with me. Thank you so much, Appy and the entire marketing team and all the support staff who helped me with this webinar. And thank you so much. Okay.